Hello everyone, and welcome to the channel. Before we dive into today's story, we just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you all for watching. We truly appreciate your support. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, it's totally free, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our latest stories. Now, with all that said, let's jump straight into the story.
I am Ethan Graves, the kind of man you'd pass on the street without a second glance. I have sharp, calculating eyes that never reveal too much. My face is unremarkable, almost forgettable, which is exactly how I prefer it. My voice is smooth, almost hypnotic. My home is an old, secluded estate on the outskirts of town, is both my sanctuary and my workshop. The main house is a facade of elegance and sophistication, with antique furniture and well-stocked bookshelves. It's a place where I entertain the occasional guest, where I conduct my business, and where I maintain the illusion of a normal life. But beneath this surface, in a hidden room, is where my true artistry unfolds. Here, flesh becomes fabric, and women become pieces of a grand design. Perfection is a fleeting thing, and I am driven by the pursuit of it. Each woman I choose is selected carefully for her flawless skin, her delicate features, and her unsuspecting nature. I seduce them, gain their trust, and then, when the time is right, I bring them back to my estate. The transformation begins in a hidden room, where I meticulously strip them of their flesh, preserving each piece with the precision of a master craftsman. My goal is to create a perfect second skin, one that I can wear, transforming myself into something more complete. The process is both tedious and exhilarating. I study each target, learning their routines, their habits, their weaknesses. I plan every move, every word, to ensure that my art remains unblemished. Control is my greatest ally, and I wield it with the grace of a conductor leading an orchestra. But as time passes, the line between control and chaos grows thinner. Each new addition to my collection brings me closer to my vision, but it also tests my resolve, pushing me to the brink of madness. One day, while in a bustling city market, I met her. Her name was Liliana, a young artist with skin as smooth as the finest porcelain. She exuded a quiet confidence, a sense of mystery that captivated me. Our conversation was as natural as breathing, and before long, she agreed to visit my estate, intrigued by the antique collection I had mentioned. Liliana was a masterpiece, and I knew she would be the final piece to my grand design. She was unaware of the fate that awaited her, and I reveled in the innocence of her curiosity. When she arrived at my estate, I showed her the main house, the gallery of antiques, and the library. She was impressed, and her admiration only deepened my resolve. After a few hours, I led her to the hidden room, under the guise of showing her a particularly rare and valuable piece. She didn't scream when I locked the door behind us. She didn't beg for mercy when I revealed my true intentions. Instead, she looked at me with a mix of fear and fascination, as if she couldn't quite believe what was happening. I took my time with Liliana, savoring every moment. She was a challenge, a test of my skills, and I was determined to pass with flying colors. But as I began the transformation, something went wrong. Liliana was stronger than the others, her spirit unbroken by the horrors I inflicted. Her defiance sparked a fire within me, a passion that I had almost forgotten. For the first time, I felt a sense of urgency, a need to complete my vision before she could break free. I worked tirelessly, day and night, until her skin was finally ready to be added to my collection. The result was breathtaking. The second skin I created from Liliana's flesh was flawless, a perfect blend of all the pieces I had collected over the years. I wore it with pride, feeling a sense of completeness that I had never known. I was no longer Ethan Graves, the unassuming antique dealer. I was something more, something greater. But perfection is a tempting mistress, and it demands a heavy price. Liliana's defiance had left a mark on me, a crack in my otherwise impenetrable control. I began to notice small things, details I had overlooked in my madness. The faint scars on my hands from my meticulous work, the way the polished furniture in my main house seemed to mock my efforts, the lingering scent of blood in the hidden room. I grew restless, my mind wandering to the next city, the next victim, the next piece of the puzzle. It was during this period of vulnerability that the detective began to connect the dots. I had always been careful, always one step ahead, but Liliana's disappearance was different. The detective, a woman named Detective Rachel Hayes, was tenacious and relentless. She started asking questions, digging through the archives, and piecing together the pattern of disappearances. I watched her from a distance, fascinated by her determination. For a moment, I even considered showing her my work, revealing my art to the world. But that would mean losing control, and that was a risk I was not willing to take. As the weeks passed, I felt the noose tightening around my neck. Detective Hayes was closing in, and I knew I had to act. I decided to leave the city, to start anew in a place where no one knew me, where I could continue my work in peace. But just as I was making the final preparations, I received a letter. It was from Liliana, or rather, from someone claiming to be Liliana. The letter was brief but chilling. It described my hidden room in intimate detail, the tools I used, the methods I employed. It ended with a simple message: "You missed a piece." I was thrown into a panic. How could she have survived? How could she have escaped? I searched the hidden room, but there was no sign of her. No trace of her existence remained, save for the skin I had meticulously preserved. I tried to push the letter from my mind, to focus on my escape, but the words haunted me, gnawing at my sanity. I left the city that night, abandoning my home and my collection. I traveled to a remote town, where I started over, blending into the background once again. But the memory of Liliana's letter lingered, a constant reminder of my failure. I began to see her everywhere, in the faces of the women I passed on the street, in the shadows of the night, in my own reflection. It was in this new town that I met Eliza. She was different from the others, with a spirit that reminded me of Liliana. I was drawn to her, captivated by her strength and her beauty. I knew she would be the final piece, the one that would restore my control and complete my vision. I seduced her, just as I had seduced the others, and she fell for my charms, unaware of the danger that awaited her. But this time, I was cautious. I made sure to remove every trace of her from the hidden room, to leave no room for escape. I worked diligently, piecing together the second skin, feeling the familiar rush of creation. When it was complete, I wore it with a sense of renewed purpose. I was Ethan Graves, the artist, the craftsman, the master of my domain. For a while, everything was perfect. I moved through my new town with ease, blending in seamlessly, and no one suspected a thing. But then, one night, I heard a knock at my door. I opened it, and there she was, Eliza, or rather, a woman who looked exactly like her. She wasn't a vision or a hallucination, she was real, and she was alive. Her eyes were hard, filled with a resolve that matched her spirit. She stepped into the house, and I could feel the air around me shift. She knew everything, every detail of my hidden room, every method I had used. She had somehow found a way to escape, to put herself back together, and now she was here to reclaim her skin. I tried to remain composed, to maintain my control, but the fear was palpable. She moved with a grace that belied her strength, and I realized that I had underestimated her. She revealed that she had been working with Detective Hayes, that they had been tracking me for months. She had survived, not by chance, but by willpower and intelligence. She had left the letter to lure me out, to force me to make a mistake. In a moment of clarity, I understood that my obsession had blinded me, that my desire for perfection had led me to my downfall. Eliza and Detective Hayes were closing in, and I had nowhere to run. I could feel the walls of my illusion crumbling, the facade of my normal life shattering. The final confrontation was swift and brutal. Eliza was not the delicate woman I had once seduced, she was a force of nature, driven by a need for revenge and justice. I fought back, but my mind was already fractured, my control slipping away. Detective Hayes arrived just as the struggle reached its peak, and I was no match for the two of them. In the end, I was taken into custody, the layers of my life peeling away like the skin I had so meticulously crafted. My hidden room was discovered, and the full extent of my crimes was revealed. The world was shocked by the tale of Ethan Graves, the quiet antique dealer who had turned into a monster. But to me, it was all just a part of the grand design, a masterpiece that had been broken, but never truly destroyed. As I sit in my cell, awaiting trial, I can't help but reflect on the journey that brought me here. I thought I had control, but in the end, it was the women who had the power. They defied me, escaped me, and brought me to justice. And as I look at the walls, bare and stripped of their former elegance, I realize that the true work of art is not the skin I once created, but the strength and resilience of those who survived. In the silence of my cell, I hear the echoes of their voices, a chorus of defiance that will haunt me for the rest of my days. And in that haunting symphony, I find a strange sense of peace, a realization that perhaps, in the end, I was never the artist, but merely the canvas upon which their true strength was painted. Thank you for staying until the end of this video. We love to read your comments and try our best to answer each and every one. Ready for spine-chilling tales that will haunt your thoughts? Subscribe to Forgotten Storyteller for eerie narrations, unsettling mysteries, and haunting stories you won't forget. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a story, because some stories refuse to stay buried. Join us, if you dare.